to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking to my ball. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good evening, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Tuesday, March the 18th. I am your host, Michael Leva, joined by Josh Moser from WSVN 7, South Florida's #1 news station. Josh, how have you been of late?
Doing good. Run around. We got March Madness full effect. Get to watch the Heat implode and, talk some football. Got some personal
Heat are having a rough
stuff
year.
happening.
The Heat are having a tough season.
Oh, it's brutal. Brutal.
Yeah.
Messi's hurt. There's always something going on in Miami. Spring
There's
break.
there's always something going on. And for the past week, Miami Dolphins free agency has been in full swing. We're going to talk about that on tonight's show. Get your thoughts there. But before we get to that, a big shout out to everyone for the sponsor of tonight's show, Caneswear. Everyone go to caneswear.com. That's right, the website, caneswear.com, for the best Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. If you need a Miami Dolphins hat, polo, jacket, hoodie, t-shirt, something for the house, something for the car, anything with a Miami Dolphins decal on it, caneswear.com is the website. They ship internationally as well. They also have stuff for the Florida Panthers, the Miami Heat, the Miami Marlins, and of course the Miami Hurricanes and all the college teams in the state of Florida. But if you're a fan of the Dolphins, go to caneswear.com. Also, Josh, Dolphins Talk Extra, a Patreon. So if you got two contests going on at once, number one, if you just sign up for $3 a month at patreon.com/Dolphins Talk, you automatically entered to win this never open Tyreek Hill mini bobblehead. You just got to sign up.
Cool.
Let's go to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. Once you're in there, then sign up for our March Madness contest, fill out a bracket, and you can win this full size Tua Tagovailoa one if you win the bracket contest. So patreon.com/Dolphins Talk, $3 a month. You get a private message board with us, extra podcasts, some about the Dolphins, some about the NBA, Major League Baseball, pro wrestling, music, whatever we feel like talking about. So patreon.com/Dolphins Talk there. All right, let's talk free agency. They went into it with not a lot of money, and they did not restructure Tua's contract or the contract of Jordan Brooks or Zach Sealer to open up more. Are you a little surprised that they didn't touch that money and that they're being so fiscally conservative? Now, look, they can still restructure those deals at any time. It's not like there's a clock on it. But if you don't do it at the start of free agency, seems a little surprising. I mean, at least with the quarterback, I'm guessing they probably won't do it, because if you're not going to open up that money to sign one of the big dogs, why are you doing it later on? But that's just my thought process. Are you surprised by that?
I'm not. Simply because why would Tua want to change his money at this point, and why coming off of the season that he had? And
It's not going to change it for the worse. It's just going to give him more money now and then open up salary cap space.
Correct. But at the same time, he's got an out in 2 years. So, to me, the issue is the dead money that they have. They're still paying Xavier Howard a lot of money. Is dead, huge dead cap hit. I want to say it's over $15 million. So I'm not surprised that they touched Tua, just being honest with you. And if you look around the league, there are multiple teams with $200 million quarterbacks that still have a lot of money to spend. And, it's the issue is what I think is going to happen. And what Drew Rosenhaus has kind of told me is, you mentioned Zach Sealer, that's got extension written all over it. And I think
he's earned it.
Jordan Brooks could as well. So I think he's an interesting piece. He played very well at the end of last season. Kind of a quiet guy, loves to read, isn't really like a fit in the locker room per se, but he's been a great player on the field. You re-sign Dodson, get a little bit more depth. I think KJ Britt is another value signing. Essentially, he and Anthony Walker switch. But they got a lot of good value pieces with not a lot of money to spend. But the reality is you gave big money to Tyreek. You gave big money to Jalen Ramsey. Luckily, you got Bradley Chubb to take a pay cut, and you've got Teron Armstead to take a pay cut. Hopefully, he'll come back and play. You paid Jalen Waddle a lot of money. And, you know, there isn't enough to go around. I'm actually surprised. I know why he left, but the Javon Holland contract, I'm sure they offered him.
Yeah.
15 a year, for 45 total, 3 for 15, 3 for 45 was a very manageable contract. And I don't know what they offered this time around, but I think at the beginning of the season they were there. And
I think he was on the podcast with Cameron Wolf, which is his podcast. He
Yeah.
said prior to last season, what they offered was close to this. After the season, they didn't come back with that same offer or make
Correct.
any competitive offer. So I'm guessing if you're Holland, he took the bet he would get more after the season.
They
Didn't
knew.
happen, but that contract with Miami was also, it sounded like off the table at that point too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they just decided to move on. But that goes back to Chris Greer. We talked about it on the show. He pays the premier positions. But I mean, I would argue with the two moves that he made at safety, I think it's a better duo overall than what we had last year with Javon and Poyer. At least on paper right now, you hope that they can stay healthy. Is Javon the best safety of the group? 100%.
Yep.
But, that was a value play there. I mean, and it goes back to, Cam Smith. If you had a lockdown corner that you spent a high draft pick on, that you could start him opposite Jalen Ramsey, it frees up a lot of things. Unfortunately, you don't have that. So there wasn't much that you could do with the amount of dead cap that they have and the amount of money that they paid their stars. And, we'll see here what happens. But I mean, again, like we can talk about this till we're blue in the face. You're not touching the Bills, and like
we're not even close.
You're nowhere close. So at this point, as a GM, we've had this conversation too. Like talk about that Tua extension. Like how much further do you want to push the money down the road? Because the reality is if you don't perform, you're not going to be here. So that's going to be someone else's problem. So, I think the biggest kind of next step is you've got some great draft capital. You're going to get a great player at 13. You need to hit on that. And then you can put yourself in a situation like the Eagles where, I mean, if you look at their last 3 drafts, they've got all starters from their first and second round picks. Like
best player available. They don't have to pick for need. Yeah.
And then so, I mean, granted, they lost Josh Sweat, Darius Slay, Gardner Johnson's gone, and they're just next man at like rotating door. But that's what happens when you hit on your draft picks. And the reality is, we haven't really seen that. And you gave away a lot of picks to get Tyreek. You lost the first round pick with tampering with Tom Brady and Sean Payton. So
and the third you lost there too.
So
yeah.
You
got the trade for Ramsey, cost you a third. Then you got the trade for Chubb, cost you a first. I mean, they gave up a lot of picks for those guys. And look, that's why 2023 was their year. It was their year. And then all the injuries happened. And trying to get back to that spot is impossible now because, Ramsey had to get paid more. Chubb gets hurt. Yeah. Hill, he had to get paid a little bit more. It's the whole, it's out of control to a point, which I understand why they did it because those guys, are big time players, but it changes everything. And then Cam Smith, here's why that one is going to sting so bad. Because at pick 13, if the corner from Michigan, Will Johnson's there, Miami's probably going to take him. If Cam Smith is even serviceable, they don't have to take him. Then you can get someone to partner up with Zach Sealer maybe on the line. But since they don't have anyone at number 2 corner, you got to make up for the mistake of Cam Smith, which really is a makeup of the mistake of Noah Igbenogany. So now you're on your 3rd corner, which you really shouldn't have to draft Cam or
Correct.
Will Johnson maybe, because if you hit on Noah, but you didn't hit on Noah, so you got to take. It's just a domino effect. And well, you're trying to play catch up at corner. You have no one on your defensive line.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, we'll see what happens with Calais Campbell. But Zach Sealer definitely deserves that extension. I think he's severely underpaid. And, they did make a couple moves on the offensive line. I know that, a lot of people are not happy.
Oh, we're going to talk about,
moves were made. But, again, Like, the Bills are there. We're here. And here's a question for you that we were kind of thinking about it. We were tossing this around. So Jamar Chase just got paid. T. Higgins just got paid.
Yeah,
in theory, the Dolphins could have had Chase with that pick if they didn't trade it. That's the year they selected Waddle, and they got the Jalen Phillips pick. So would you rather have that duo or Tyreek and Waddle as a wide receiver duo? To me, the biggest difference is the quarterback with Burrow and Tua.
Yes,
but
that's 100%.
Comparing the wide receivers, because those guys are getting paid $70 million a year now.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little surprised that they sort of copied the Miami blueprint, which I understand why Miami did it, because they gave up so much draft capital for Hill. You had to pay him. And they took Waddle prior to knowing they were going to get Hill. I get it. But then you had to keep them both. And Waddle's younger. You took him in the draft. You want to pay him and keep him. So I get it. And then kind of understand why you pay Hill. He's a future Hall of Famer. All the bullshit aside off the field, he's a great player on the field when he's locked in. So I get it. But if you're Cincinnati, look, how do we fill out the rest of this roster? Because that is what Miami's trying to figure out when you're paying 2 wide receivers north of $30 million roughly. How do you? So I'm a little surprised Cincinnati went down that road. If it were me, I'd rather have Chase, because I think Chase is younger. And when Miami had that pick from Houston in the Laramie Tunsil deal, it was a gift from the guys, because it ended up being third. Third. It's like, just sit there. Just sit there and take the best player. And they did the thing where they slid down and moved up, and they got some extra great. But I would have just stayed there and just took Chase. And I said it at the time too. All these podcasts are archived. You can go back and find them. I'm not lying. That's what I would have done. I would have just sat there and took them. But I understand why they did what they did. But I'd rather have the Chase Higgins just because of age. But yes, it does really come down to the quarterback.
And now we got Zach Wilson that went 2 overall from that.
You're jumping ahead of me. Okay, let's go Zach Wilson. Then we'll go offensive line. We mentioned Zach Wilson on this show probably since the season ended as a possibility.
Yeah.
And when they announced the signing, I said some Dolphins fans too happy, some Dolphins fans too mad. It's not that big a deal. He's a number 2 quarterback. He is better than Skyler, Huntley, Mike White, that whole group. Tim Boyle, throw him in there. So I don't have a problem with it. And essentially, you're buying a scratch-off lotto ticket. You're hoping this guy turns around his career like Sam Darnold and some of the other guys, Mayfield, who left their first team where things didn't end well, and they went somewhere else, and the light bulb goes off, and they have success. I don't mind the signing. $6 million, it's not that bad. I mean, $6 million, they had to pay more for a number 2 quarterback than they were. What are your thoughts on the Zach Wilson signing?
I love it. I mean, he was the person that I identified from the beginning. I remember saying it on this podcast, like, this is their guy.
Yeah.
I think his personality is really going to mesh with Mike McDaniel. And I hope that he and Tua get along. Obviously, an upgrade from everyone else that they've had in that room. We knew after what happened last season, they needed to pay a backup quarterback. You're hoping that he can find the lightning in the bottle that you just mentioned. Maybe Joe Flacco is the best recent example 2 years ago. Yep. But the reality is, based off of what Tua has shown us outside of the one career year where he was healthy, the reality is that he's going to miss a couple games. It's just based off of what we've seen. And if in this last season, the games that were lost were very winnable games when Tua was out. If you win half of those, you're in the playoffs. Shoot, if you win one game, you're in a playoff scenario. So you hope that Zach can come in and win games. He certainly won more games as a starter than anybody that they had in that lot. And you hope that Mike McDaniel can resurrect his career. Obviously, the arm talent's there. You still go back and watch all the crazy videos from his.
He's got physical traits. He's got crazy physical. That's why he went number 2 overall. People forget he went number 2 overall because he has crazy physical traits. He's got a big arm. He can throw it a country mile. Everything's there. And as I was trying to talk some fans off the ledge, the first 2 years of Tua Tagovailoa, he had a head coach who didn't know offense. He had multiple offensive coordinators, and he had 0 weapons. And almost all Dolphins fans made every excuse under the sun. Give him a chance. Don't give up on him. Give him a chance. Zach Wilson had the same situation with the Jets, and then you factor in a crazy media presence up in New York as well. I'm thinking if he can survive that, not so much survive, but just live through it.
Yeah, let him mature.
Backing up Tua is going to be a walk in the park. No offense. It's like, come on.
For sure. And it's also like, you always
give him the same grace that we gave Tua. Just give him the same grace. Let's see what he does with weapons and a real coach.
And now, like, you're established in this league, and now Mike McDaniel's going into his 4th year in charge. Luckily, he gets a defensive coordinator back for the first time in his head coaching career. So you have continuity on the coaching staff. Now the question is who are the leaders going to be in this locker room? But, you lost some leadership. And the pieces are there to, kind of go 9-8, 10-7, and try to sneak into a wild card situation, and then hope that everybody's healthy and you can go win a game. I mean, that's realistically like what this team is, especially 100%. With all the quarterbacks in the AFC. It just, so that's where we're at. Like we can
100%. And like, I'd rather pay him 6 than Marcus Mariota 8. Jimmy Garoppolo was never coming here from all sounds like. It sounds like he wanted to stay with the Rams. He likes Sean McVay. He knows the system. You don't want to move and like learn a new system, although it's probably close to the same system. So like, who else was there? Like there was like, I mean, some people saying Mac Jones. Mac Jones and Zach Wilson are the same person, folks. Don't get. I mean, if you want one instead of the other, that might be a personal preference. But at the end of the day, they're both guys who were picked at the top of the draft who failed, and it's like you're hoping one can be fixed over the. There's no difference.
No. And I mean, the thing with this team is the locker rooms that win are locker rooms that really like each other and players that get along. And you have to have that kind of secret sauce. And when you have that, it elevates the play on your field where your roster on paper actually gets better. And obviously winning solves a lot of things. It keeps a lot of people happier. So like, that's kind of an interesting mold going into this season of like, can Mike McDaniel take that next step as a head coach and really bring this team together? He's a player-first head coach, so we'll see who the captains are and if they can really do this because, there's a chance. Like, they have some pieces. It's just can they stay healthy? Can they come together? And can Tua actually play like we've seen him play and do it consistently without getting hurt? I mean, those are the big questions. And
can they stay healthy being the biggest one? Because they just haven't stayed healthy. No. And then he goes out and signs a few guys in the past week who known injury histories like Afedu Malafanu and James. Not that the offensive lineman has long injury history, but he's coming back from Achilles, so it does throw a monkey wrench into things.
Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of been his MO. I mean, you paid Bradley Chubb.
He shops at the discount store. Yeah,
but I mean, Bradley Chubb wasn't a discount.
No.
But yeah, I mean, but that's all he could do with the salary cap situation
limitations
they're in. I mean, shoot, you're paying Shaq Barrett, who never played it down for you. I think $4 million in dead cap this year. You could add Andrew Van Ginkel. Like, and that was a big blunder. But it is what it is. So they didn't know. But you have draft capital. I think there's 11 picks.
10 now, because the league made a mistake and they took one away after they gave us the extra compensatory one. They go, our bad. That should go to the Saints. You guys are back to 10, which is no big deal. It was like the last pick of the draft, really.
But you got to hit. You got to hit on 3 guys.
He's got 3 in the top 100. They all need to be contributors. I'm not going to say starters, although the one you pick at 13 should start. But the one you pick at 48, and I think it's 98, the other one, those 2 better be contributors, meaning second string at worst, and they're actually on the field and play. He cannot do another thing where let's take Cam Smith, he doesn't play. Let's take Noah, he doesn't play. Austin Jackson, he played as a rookie. He didn't play well.
He was also 20 years old.
I know. I understand that. But if you're going to take a guy 19th overall,
you want him to be a Pro Bowler.
Expect a little more. Which is fine. But those 3 in the top 100, he really needs to hit. And look, we know the huge needs are going to be corner, safety, defensive line, and probably still offensive line of some sort.
I think you need
someone who can play guard.
Yeah, I still think you need a left tackle. I know you took Paul High in the second round last year, but you just don't know what Tehran. And Austin's coming off an injury on the other side.
He's always coming off an injury.
Yeah,
he's only got hurt more than Tua.
Now you've got Eichenberg, who the fans despise. Forget he's a second round pick. Aaron Brewer might be your most consistent offensive lineman right now. And
if he is, and James Daniels, who they say will be ready by the start of the year, I'm not going to fully believe him because they're the same people who told me Isaiah Wynn will be ready, and he didn't come back till the end of the year, final 4 games. And they're the same people who signed Odell Beckham and said, don't worry, and he's out the first 6 weeks. But they're saying James Daniels should be ready by week 1, should be ready by May or June. I can't take him at their word, but if he is, with Aaron Brewer, Austin Jackson back, that side of the line is fine. It's actually quite good. The other side is still a mess. Now, look, Liam Eichenberg, hot topic, clearly. Now, I've spoken about this a lot. I wrote an article about this. Tell me why. And,
cost.
I've heard people give me a million reasons. Not one of them makes sense. That he can play all 5 positions. Yeah, but he plays them badly. He knows his system. So what? That he's just a backup, which I don't believe for a second. Because look at all the injuries we have on this line. By the end of September, he's going to be starting, if not by week 1. Because I don't trust them. The first time someone gets hurt and someone goes down, they're going to go to the person they know best. Liam, get out there. That's my fear and why I didn't want him back. Not because he's a bad guy. He didn't do nothing wrong. He was offered a contract. He signed. It's not about him. It's just I don't understand why they would even consider this. Use that money on someone else, an unknown, and so there's at least hope.
Yeah, and I mean, remember, the moves can be made throughout the season. Trades can always happen as well, but he'd be a piece, expiring contract. Like, we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, he's his versatility, plays multiple positions. He's didn't get very much money on this deal. It's a 1-year deal. They're out of cap space. That's all it is. Even with the $20 million that everybody got from the league, they're out of cap space. And you're going to have to use a couple of it on extensions. Johnny Smith's probably another name that, he would love an extension. I don't know if they're going to give it to him. But I mean, he had a career year, set the tight end records, but he's an older guy. But yeah, again, a lot of questions. And I think once we get through the draft, we'll have a much clearer picture. And then you hope that everybody can stay healthy through camp, et cetera. And then Tyreek Hill with this wrist surgery, he's not going to be ready to catch footballs until, late July.
Summer, they said.
Yeah. So Akine is a guy we haven't talked about. I actually think
I was going to bring him up.
He's got a chance to be special. I think he's
their best signing so far.
I think he was their best signing. And I mean, the 9 touchdowns last year with those quarterbacks that would have been the most on this Dolphins team, and his speed. And he really wants to be here. He's from the Orlando area. And I think we have a legitimate upgrade from Odell Beckham Jr., which is crazy to say. It just didn't fit, didn't work. So you have 3 legitimate wide receivers. The one receiver, we've talked about this, is you need a big guy that can go high point the ball. And Pharaoh Brown could potentially be that. We've seen clips. He's more of a big blocking tight end, more like the Julian Hill build, where Jonnu is going to be that guy. But he can operate in the same mold as Jonnu for a lot less. So we'll see what happens there. And then I know Artie Burns is from down here, former first-round pick. 2016 played opposite Joe Hayden, all of that from Northwestern, started at the U. But
seems like he's going to fill the spot for Sirianni Neal, who just left. Seems like he might fill that.
I don't know. I mean, he might even be a late cut. You don't know.
Oh, absolutely. He's just there for special teams, I think. Because I know last year he only played 51 snaps, I think, at corner. He's not. I mean, he can line up there in a pinch, but he's not what you want out there. I think he's here just to run down punts and kickoffs. Honestly.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's. There's just it's tough. And then, the other questions are, Jalen Phillips, what's he going to be? And, they'll probably let him go. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option. And
they did.
He's got a 5th-year option. I'm sorry. They haven't offered an extension. So
they haven't offered an extension.
I think it's like $15 million this year. You hope that he's healthy. Love the guy. Just feel bad for him. And then Chop Robinson is good at the end of the year. Like you have some pieces, but do you have enough? The answer is no. You don't.
And then, of course, what was said on your show Sunday night that in talks maybe with Emmanuel Agba, possibly. Who knows? It's still not close. They said
it's not happening. He's just waiting on other offers. So it was 1 year for $5 million was the deal last year. And remember, he was a former 2nd-round pick, big money guy. He basically just wasn't liked by the former DC that we shall leave him nameless at this stage. I don't want to.
I think everyone knows who you're talking about.
Get the Twitter going here, but the man did just win a Super Bowl with the Eagles. But we'll see. But I mean, again, it's like they're out of money. So
I know. Let's talk about if the wide receiver was the best signing. I think the second best signing was Ryan Stonehouse, the punter. I think we upgraded a punter a little bit. he had that nasty injury that one year, but he was averaging 53.1. I know the net. If you want to dive deep into some punting stats, I know the net wasn't like exactly top of the league, but he can kick bombs.
He can boom it.
He can boom it. Which with Jake, that wasn't like his strong suit per se. He could do other things well, but this kid seems like a big time. He's got a big leg.
Yeah,
I know it's a punter. I mean, how excited can you get over a punter? I get it, but
you know what? There are points in the game where it matters.
Flips the field.
I worked in Denver, and I have a lot of people that follow Colorado State very closely, and they love this guy, and the players that have played with him really like him. Funny personality, and like Bailey's got a fun personality. But we saw on the field there were issues holding the ball, and for Jason Sanders, and I think that needs to be addressed. I don't know what the situation is with Jake Ferguson, exactly what happened at the end of last year. So look, when you have a long snapper and a new holder and that whole operation, you need that to work. And it didn't last year. I mean, Jason had some amazing months, and he's worth every penny that the Dolphins are paying him. I've seen players or people just say, go get a, undrafted kicker, for
not that easy,
$500,000 and save $3 million. You want Jason Sanders on this football team, but yeah, you hope that there's a little bit of a competition. I haven't checked today. Is Bailey still on the roster?
They haven't released him, which is a little surprising because once they cut him, assuming they cut him, it opens up 1.9 million, and they only eat 550,000, which is not a lot of dead money, and that opens up close to $2 million, which maybe they can use towards someone else. Obviously, I don't know who.
Yeah,
but a little surprising they didn't make that move in conjunction with that other signing, unless they want a competition maybe and let the best man win. But I don't know.
I love competition, and we have a new
special teams coordinator.
Hallelujah,
Craig Ackerman,
Danny Crossman. After fans have begged for him to be removed for 4 years. We'll see. But I mean, if it comes down to like a punt, it's not.
Look, I know.
Yeah, but it's crazy. I love this. We're sitting here talking about punters. It's wonderful.
Special teams talk always does it just drives the numbers up crazy on the podcast. Last thing I'll ask you is I'll say you look at the AFC East, as we've said. Yeah. At the top is the Bills. That ain't changing. They ain't going nowhere. They're still a top dog, and everyone else is not. I don't even think Jets, Pats, Miami are even close, honestly. But the Patriots, with all that money, the offense still needs work, but there's still time. But they've quietly built a damn good defense in the past week with what they had already and the pieces they've already added. And they got a young quarterback who showed a lot of promise last year, and they got a head coach who's got a clue. He knows what he's doing on that sideline. Do you think the Patriots have passed the Dolphins?
At this point, currently, no.
Or are they close?
They're close. I think that I'm putting the Dolphins ahead of them currently. But that's going to be a very tough game up in Foxborough. And schedule hasn't come out yet, but depending on when that is in the season, if that's a late season game, that's a tough one. The Jets, the
Jets are going to play hard for Aaron Glenn. I don't know if they got.
Yeah, to me, the Jets are at the bottom, and we'll see kind of how everything unfolds for them in the draft. But again, you should get 3 wins out of beating the Jets twice, and you probably split with the Patriots, and then you hope to split with the Bills, but realistically, you're going 0-2. So that's kind of the division. That's what it is. But it's just the rest of the AFC is so daunting. And I mean, the Bengals had a down year. Most likely, we saw the leaked report that the Dolphins will see them in November in this game in Spain.
That's the rumor. The 16th of November against Cincinnati. Don't know if it's 100% true, but
yeah, I mean, I think Houston's going to be right in the mix again. They've got a pretty easy division.
Let's see what Pittsburgh does at quarterback. Watch out if they get a good one.
Yeah, if they get a quarterback, and the Ravens are still there in the AFC North.
Chargers are no joke.
Chargers, even like Ladd McConkey, probably their new wide receiver one.
Not betting against Sean Payton. Not betting against Sean Payton either.
No, I mean, look, the Broncos made the playoffs with Bo Nix. I mean,
rookie.
So that's how Zach Wilson ended up here. So, I mean, and then you're never counting out Patrick Mahomes. You're just never betting against the guy, especially with Andy Reid. So, right there, you're sitting 6-7, which is.
How do we get to the AFC South? Can we petition the league to get in with Daniel Jones? Jacksonville's got an owner who's more into pro wrestling, and Houston's pretty good. But okay, I'd rather deal with just Houston. We have a
Colts are an interesting team to me too. I love their GM. It's just stuff hasn't worked for them, and they got
a couple quarterbacks, and I don't know who's going to win that job. Someone's going to win it by default. I don't know if anyone's going to win it.
Yeah, again, I think it's back to Anthony Richardson. If he can stay healthy, I mean, it should be. He's the 4th overall pick on him. So, but I mean, now we're down to Dolphins are 8-9. So you're right teetering on that.
Better have a good draft. That draft, which I know you're not going to know right when it happens, a draft. You never know. It takes a year or 2 or 3. I get it. But sometimes you have a good sense when it happens. Oh, that guy looks like he's the real deal. I feel confident about that pick. They better come away with those first 3 picks. Like I said, the top 100. After that, once you get to that 3rd day, round 4, round 5, I know he's got 2 picks in round 4, 2 picks. I get it. But that's a lot of luck involved too. Yes, you can do all the scouting in the world, but when you get to those rounds, the people picked in round 4 and the people picked in round 6 and 7, they're virtually the same on many levels. Those top 100 though aren't, and that's where he really has to get 3 solid contributors, the guys who can play year 1, like Chop last year. Chop went out there and played. He was great.
Chop was a good pick.
Achane is a rookie a few years back. He played right away. He was great. He needs those kind of picks in that top 100. And if he does, that's going to go a long way, because right now they got nothing on defense. I mean,
I love that safety out of Georgia.
The offensive line till they're blue in the face, and I get it. It's not great. It's not perfect. They got nothing on defense.
No. And, I mean, that's been the gripe. You want to call it toughness or whatever word you want to throw around. But the way that this team was built was that we're going to score more points than you. That you remember the 60 spot on the Broncos?
70.
And, for me, more so, I want to see more from Mike McDaniel this year. We've seen him now for 3 years. The first year's a throwaway. Second year got better. And then honestly, I thought this last year he regressed. And I think people figured out the offense. He didn't adjust. We saw multiple in-game scenarios where he couldn't adjust on the fly. You can talk about the challenges that they've lost. I want the operation to be smooth. You're supposed to be this offensive guru. You have high-priced offensive weapons, and this is your vision. You got the guys that you wanted, and you have them. You obviously can't control health, but scoring what you were scoring last year, even when Tua was healthy, was not enough. So now you've got Anthony Weaver back. He's taking care of that side of the ball. You've had your whole operation built. This should be a year that you take a step again. You got an extension last year. So win us a game. Win us a game by coaching. And
every year you need your quarterback and your head coach at least once, sometimes twice, to drag a team to a win on a day they're having an off day. I don't expect it every week. That's unrealistic.
Exactly.
But there's 1 or 2 times a year when the team's having an off day where the head coach or the quarterback drags them to a win. Be like, guys, I got this. Now with Mike, he does, as I've said, I mean, he seems like a great guy, but some of the in-game decisions he makes really are head-scratching at times, and he has to fix that, as well as win the challenges, all that good stuff. With Tua, though, as much as people love him, there's just times where it's I know everything's not going to be perfect at all times around you, but at some point you got to step up. You just got to make a play. Just make a play. I don't want to hear about, this guy's out with the offensive line. This guy's out. Okay, the offensive line sucks. You knew that going in. Yeah. Figure it out.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, we're getting ready for a Marlins baseball season, so, kind of forget that. Normally the Marlins just get us to training camp. I don't even think they're going to do that. So we got to go hard on the Dolphins here for the OTAs.
To have an open tryouts in the league, can't tell them you just can't hire people off the street. The Marlins. I mean, that's embarrassing. It's
the most Marlins thing. The Marlins are going to Marlin.
Exactly. That's
By the way,
embarrassing.
$30 an hour they're paying people. So
that's embarrassing.
$150 for 5 hours. So you're making $30 an hour to go do that. That
is literally like the movie Major League. That is literally the movie Major League. We'll take anyone out of prison. Come on down. We'll give it a shot.
I mean, maybe that's where they got the idea from. The third one, the Buzz with
Yes.
Walter Goggins and the Miners.
Yes.
Back to the Miners.
Back to the Miners.
Oh,
yes.
God.
That guy's been in a lot of crazy stuff. He was in that show, The Shield, Justified. He's on this season of White Lotus, which I put out a tweet yesterday, is really, really weird. I like White Lotus. This is the 3rd season. He's on it this season. Yeah. Not him. The storyline's really, I mean, it's out there, man. This one's, people are talking about, like, he's been in a lot a stuff.
He's a great character actor.
He is. He's great.
Him and Ed Harris are like my 2 favorite character actors. But yeah, he was the home run hitter on that
yes. Couldn't hit a curveball, and then at the end he hits the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great. Okay, that's been enough, Josh. Thanks so much for a few moments every time. Everyone, be sure to watch Josh on WSVN 7, South Florida's #1 news station. And, of course, follow him on social media at The Mo's Knows. See, I got your own graphic now with a little Twitter handle and stuff on there under at The Mo's Knows.
Caneswear. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Caneswear. Yes, Caneswear. Of course, just go to the website, caneswear.com. And, as I said, patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. 2 contests at once. Win a bobblehead. 2 a Tyreek. Brand new, rare. They only made like 144 this Tyreek one. And I think the 2 one's even less, only like 120 or something. So get in Patreon. It's only $3, folks. Come on. I got
to hit up Caneswear. I got to change this Michael Jordan signed jersey. I got to switch it up with something else.
Okay. I'm sure they got something there. Who could you get? I'm wondering.
If I had to get a Dolphins jersey signed?
Chop Robinson one would be pretty cool. Chop with a number 44. I like that number 40.
Jim Carrey, Ray Finkel jersey would be kind of cool.
That'd be awesome.
It's sad that that's like our best option. This is cool.
I don't know if it's the best option. You can always go with number 13.
Yeah, I got number 13 here on a little mini ball.
Oh, nice. I got a lot of 13s behind me for people watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right above me is the jersey, the helmet, the second logo, that one. That one I got in person. He came to a mall in Syracuse in 2005. Now, this is Bill's country on a Friday night. And this is like the second, at the time, not anymore, the 2nd largest mall in America here in Syracuse. I know. Things we're proud of.
I've been. You've been? It's a great place.
This line wrapped around this mall. It was, and I'm like, who are getting these? This is Bill's country, a lot of Dolphins fans up here, and a lot of people wanted to meet Dan Marino, and they funneled every one of those people through within a few hours. He didn't leave early. He didn't pull a Hulk Hogan. If you've been watching the news, shows up late for a signing, leaves early. People are crying. No, he stayed for every one of them, and he signed everything that day in Syracuse, and I got to meet him.
Big E.
But, yeah.
That means by a Big E, like, healthy jersey might be a good one. I think I might put that one up there. Could do that.
There we go. All right. All right, Josh. Have a good night, everyone. We'll talk to you again.
Thanks, everybody.
After a while.